Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Thursday, June 11th, 2020, and this morning, The Economist released their 2020 forecast for the presidential election. There haven't been too many of these. I know I've covered some from Our Progress. I've covered some from the JHK forecast itself, but today we're going to take a look at The Economist and where they rate the 2020 election. Now, I'm waiting on the 538 one to drop because that is the one that was the closest to giving Donald Trump a chance at winning. They give him a 1 in 3 chance at winning the election, which to some people may seem as if it was necessarily wrong, but a third chance at winning the presidency is something that anyone would love. And yes, I understand Donald Trump did defy a lot of odds in 2016, so I do think that the models, in a sense, were working off an older political landscape, something that was similar to the likes of 2012 and 2008. Now, I'm pretty sure at least a lot of these forecasts are taking into account the silent majority, I guess, from 2016, and a lot of those Trump voters, and rewriting it for the 2020 election. This map gives Joe Biden, actually this forecast, gives Joe Biden an 83% chance at winning the Electoral College as of today. Donald Trump and him went back and forth around mid-March just because of the fact that Donald Trump was starting to be approved of nationwide. COVID-19 was starting to be, his treatment of that was started to be approved of as well. And now, as you can see, Joe Biden has pretty much broken away from Donald Trump up to, in fact, his highest point the entire general election season, actually, even when the primaries were occurring. So right as, I guess you could say, April 8th. Joe Biden had 310 electoral votes based off this model, which was not released yet, but they do go back to show you where it was, and Donald Trump at 228. Now, Donald Trump has 204, and Joe Biden has 334. That's over 100 electoral votes in terms of a victory. Around 130 electoral votes to be completely concise. In 2012, Obama won by a similar margin. In 2008, it was a little bit larger, but still. Donald Trump did not come close to 130 electoral votes over Hillary Clinton. He didn't even break 100. So looking at this puts Joe Biden at a very good pathway at winning in the election. In fact, if you take a look at the chance of winning the popular vote, he gets around 96% of chance to win the popular vote. Again, it's going to be very difficult for the Republicans in the future to even win the popular vote at this point. With the increase in states such as California and Arizona and Texas and states that are very large in populations, in population centers, a lot of those areas are going to be voting Democrat. Whether or not they may vote for the Democrats on the statewide level for cases in Texas and Arizona, a lot of the Democratic popular vote is coming from key states such as that, and the Republican popular vote, but they aren't relying too much on states such as New York or California for their main numbers there. So they actually provide us with a map. They also have swing states, so we're actually going to briefly run through it. I may make a more in-depth swing state analysis for the Economist projections, but this is pretty much the updated 2020 election forecast. I use JHK forecast. I've used Our Progress. Now I'm going to go ahead and use The Economist in a video. So I think that it is pretty interesting that if you take a look at their swing states, there are some notable absences. Virginia is not included on the list. Colorado is not included on the list. New Mexico is not included on the list, but Nevada is. They also pretty much put a number of Trump states from 2016 that were a lot more solid than Virginia or Colorado or New Mexico. But they do acknowledge that in these states, Joe Biden is going to have a pretty substantial victory. Let's take Virginia, for example. Let's go ahead and jump there because even though it's not a swing state on this map, we can see Joe Biden has around 95% chance at carrying the state of Virginia. And this is something that actually has changed nationwide and actually all of these swing states. Donald Trump was actually the favorite to win the election for a small period of time. He was leading in a number of swing states that we now would consider competitive. Let's go ahead and open all of them. I'm going to open all of these in new tabs, and it's probably going to lag my computer out, but whatever. Let's go ahead and hit Arizona. This one is very interesting because Donald Trump had a very commanding lead over Vice President Biden before the primaries had ended. Yes, people did think, Arizona will be competitive because of the 2018 Senate race. It has been moving further to the left, but nobody was really solid. Joe Biden will absolutely carry Arizona, and that's not what it is right now, but it's getting close to that. Donald Trump had a 78% chance at the start of this to win the state of Arizona. Joe Biden at 22%. It has since narrowed to a point where it flipped and has stuck with Vice President Biden, and now he's at a 56% chance to 44% chance. This state drastically flew away from being in favor of Donald Trump. He was expected to possibly even win the popular vote in this state by 4%. So now it looks like Joe Biden is on the pathway to carry the state of Arizona on Election Day based off these numbers. As we look over in Florida, again, Donald Trump started out with a lead, very small lead, and then during his little approval blip was leading over Joe Biden. Actually had a lesser chance of carrying Florida than Arizona, but obviously that doesn't seem, it seems really interesting that it's still the same way. But I would say that considering the fact that Arizona is probably going to be a little bit or voting to the left of Florida, I don't necessarily agree with this, but but Donald Trump has a 32% chance at carrying the state of Florida. Joe Biden has a 68% chance. I think that is also very interesting. That's 29 electoral votes, going to be very important, and it just goes to show that Donald Trump has, again, lost his grip. This is a very interesting one. Georgia itself has rapidly narrowed. In fact, in 2020, the Democratic Party had more primary votes than the Republican Party in the state of Georgia. I will say that is fantastic for the Georgia Democratic Party. They are running 2 Democrats in the, I guess you could say like 9 Democrats in the special election, but Jon Ossoff in the general election, who just won an outright primary victory. But Donald Trump's chances have since dwindled from, at his peak, 91%, 92%, with Joe Biden at 9. Now Joe Biden is at 42%. Again, drastic increase in terms of a Biden chance in the state of Georgia. And it's not just here. It's all around the country. Iowa used to be 93% for Trump, 7% for Joe Biden. Now up to 32%. It's not solid, but that's the same expected percentage for a Donald Trump victory in 2016. So it is possible. In Michigan, Donald Trump narrowly edged ahead. He was never really the favorite in Michigan for a substantial period of time, but Joe Biden has since broken away from being at 49% at his lowest point all the way up to 84% statewide in a state that was Republican in 2016. They acknowledge that Donald Trump carried it, but when you take a look at all of the data we have provided to us, Joe Biden is absolutely the clear favorite. The same goes for Mitt Romney for the state of Indiana in 2012, or Missouri in 2012. Though the state may have been close or gone to the Democratic or Republican Party back in 4 years prior, we know how the state is probably going to vote in this upcoming election. Nevada included. Donald Trump never really had a shot at Nevada based off this model. Joe Biden's low point was a 62% chance, but now he's at 84%, and it looks very probable that Joe Biden does carry Nevada, and it does align with a lot of the other data that we're seeing. In the state of New Hampshire, this is very interesting to me. New Hampshire actually was a lot more favorable to Donald Trump than Michigan, than Wisconsin, than Minnesota, than pretty much all of those swing states in Pennsylvania. A lot of those states that Donald Trump did carry in 2016 or came very close in. He also came very close in New Hampshire. But I wouldn't necessarily, I'm surprised to see New Hampshire more favorable to Donald Trump than Michigan or Pennsylvania, a state that he actually carried. But Donald Trump peaked at 60% and has now dwindled down to a 21% chance. 1 in 5 isn't the worst position, but it's not a great position. Taking a look at North Carolina, this one has gone back and forth pretty rapidly, actually dipping down for Joe Biden, going up for Donald Trump, and vice versa. Donald Trump started out with a pretty commanding lead at his peak at 66%. Joe Biden still hasn't hit that. But when you take a look again, back and forth, Biden leading, Trump leading, Biden leading, narrowed down, Biden again, narrow, Biden, narrow, now Biden at 57%. So I think that one's actually going to be going back and forth. That's going to be a true bellwether. For Ohio, this one still hasn't gone in the favorite of Joe Biden. I think that does align with a lot of what we're seeing on the national map, but Ohio hasn't been wrong in over 6 decades, and it'd be a shame for them to vote wrong in 2020. So if Trump carries Ohio on election night, it could be an indicator he wins the re-election, or they could just be wrong if Joe Biden wins without Ohio. Ohio is not crucial to the Biden campaign, but it definitely would be nice for them to have in terms of an electoral margin, because Ohio went to Trump by 9% in 2016. A drastic swing like that would give Joe Biden a mandate as he proceeds through the 2020 in his inauguration in 2021. As we take a look at Pennsylvania, was back and forth in the beginning, but now Joe Biden has since taken around a 3 and 4% chance, 3 and 4, I guess 76% chance actually up here, a chance at winning the state of Pennsylvania. I think that is phenomenal for the Biden campaign. I mean, Pennsylvania, a state that the Democratic Party really should have had in 2016. Out of all of them, I would have said Pennsylvania. They held the DNC there. It had not gone to the Democratic Party. It hasn't really been as narrow as Michigan or Wisconsin in 2000 or 2004. And if you take a look at the state of Pennsylvania itself, Vice President Biden's from that state. A lot of what, the Obama campaign was focused on, they won Pennsylvania by a pretty solid margin. They won Michigan by solid margins and Wisconsin, but I will say that it was the most surprising that Pennsylvania, the place of the DNC, went to the Republican Party for the first time in nearly 3 decades. For Texas, they also include this as a swing state. Actually hasn't changed too much. Donald Trump is always really the favorite to win the election, but Joe Biden has around a 1 in 5% chance at winning here. Again, not horrible, but wouldn't be too likely and shouldn't be the main focus of the Biden campaign. And Wisconsin is the final swing state on the Economist model itself. And again, Donald Trump started out leading, as he did in a number of other states, but now Joe Biden has taken it away at 78%. I mean, in order for this to drastically change, Donald Trump is going to need heck of a convention bump, because when you're taking a look at these numbers, it's going to be very difficult to recover. Yes, Joe Biden did it, but he was only down around 20%. Now, Donald Trump is nearing being down 60% in the state in terms of a chance at winning, a state that he carried 4 years ago. So when you take a look at the national forecast, this is exactly why Joe Biden has an 83% chance at winning the presidency and Donald Trump has a 17% chance. When you take a look at this map, it's very helpful. It shows you the states that are very likely to go to Joe Biden, states such as Delaware or states such as Colorado, and states that are likely to go to either Joe Biden or Donald Trump. Iowa is likely to go to Donald Trump, so I guess this would be the lean characterization for my videos. When you're taking a look at that, you also have to make sure that you point out the uncertain states. And the only states that are uncertain are states that actually Donald Trump carried in 2016. A lot of the states that Trump carried in 2016, such as Florida, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, are expected to go to Joe Biden in 2020. So Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, and Ohio are not crucial to the Biden campaign, especially if he's carrying Florida. But right now, some of them actually favorite Joe Biden to win. In the case in Arizona, or narrowing in Ohio, right now in North Carolina for the Biden campaign, and right now for Trump in Georgia. So the map does shift pretty drastically. So you can see how over time it has changed in terms of the popular vote. Joe Biden is expected to get a pretty substantial portion of the popular vote. If Donald Trump does win the presidency, it will be very bad for the Democratic Party, considering that in this scenario, they're nearing a 6-point lead over the Donald Trump nationwide. In fact, over a 6-point lead, nearing 7%. If just 0.1 percentage point moves up and then you round up, Joe Biden is expected to get a pretty substantial portion of the popular vote over Donald Trump. So you can actually go ahead and figure out this model yourself. This is on projects.economist.com/US-2020-forecast/president. If you just type in The Economist, I'm sure this will be on their front page. I don't know, so I'm going to actually check right now. It's probably going to yell at me for having ad right here. Yeah. So you can go ahead and check it out yourself. But I think that it is pretty interesting to go ahead and see a model that is very informative and will probably be pretty accurate on election day. Unless we're in for a huge surprise like we were in 2016. I don't think we are, just because of the fact that a lot of these models and these pollsters have adjusted for the 2016 bump in Republican support nationwide. So they're not polling the same groups as 2016, which is a pretty strong warning sign to Donald Trump that he's down 8% nationwide after the adjusted data has come through. So again, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Please consider joining as a member on my channel, and I will see you all tomorrow.